Ever wondered what it truly takes to transform your life, to turn deeply personal experiences into a powerful force for good? Today, I'm sitting down with Melissa Thomson, a leadership coach, wellbeing and retreat facilitator, speaker, and the host of the Heart-Led Leader podcast. Melissa shares her journey of building a brand new Steiner school from the ground up in a small Queensland town. Not an easy task. She also shares the profound challenge of personal loss. If you've ever felt stuck or sensed a quiet calling for something more meaningful, this conversation will resonate with you. This episode is for anyone ready to move from their head into their heart. Let's dive in. Melissa, thanks for joining me on Through Your Lens.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I start with this question. It's all feeling nice and calm after a nice few breaths there, but now we just jump straight into it, into, a difficult question for some people, but I love this question. And it is, what was one of the most difficult moments of your life that in the end turned out to be a blessing or you learned something from it?
One that turned into a blessing. There was one a couple of years ago that's probably the hardest, but that hasn't. Let's go there. It's hard to say when you lose someone you love that there's a blessing in it. But the blessing or what's occurred as a result of that or since that time. So I lost my dad, who I'm very close-knit family. We were colleagues through the school journey. I haven't cried about it for a while, sorry. He was my friend, colleague, beautiful dad. And he was diagnosed with a terminal illness through COVID times, actually. We were managing a legal battle at the same time. And he died on Christmas Day, 2022. And I guess, again, it's hard to see the blessing in it when someone goes and they're not ready and they're young. But what's come about as a result of that was a catapult and sort of a real drive and inspiration to live life. He said, which ended up getting tattooed on me, live life. It was the day he realised he was dying and accepted his death because he'd fought it for a long time. And the day he accepted it and asked me to look after Mum and he said, make sure you live your life, Liz, just live life. And I think it was that reminder. I'd been navigating leadership within the school that I'd helped to found for 8 years at this point, and starting to feel that call for something different, for my soul calling something new now, but being so heart attached to it. And so, I'd birthed it and lived it and loved it. And it was a really hard thing to contemplate leaving and exiting, but it started that ball rolling of, life is short and you want it to be meaningful and rich and full of things that you really love and feel aligned with. And so began the journey of transitioning out of that role, which now is, that was a beautiful transition and it's led to this beautiful time now of stepping into that new space in my life, this next chapter, this next season. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was pretty tough.
Oh, thanks for sharing. And so sorry to hear. Death is the ultimate reminder, isn't it? That how precious life is.
Yeah.
And I can see that in the way you answered that and the way you show up now, that spurs you on to whatever you're into next. Is that what your relationship is with life and death now? Do you feel the preciousness of it? Are you reminded about it?
Absolutely. And I think that happened for me early on in life too. I lost my best friend to melanoma at 25 and witnessed her leaving behind her little boy who was 2 years old at the time and her husband, and my pop, who I was also really close to, died 3 weeks later. So that was a pivotal time in life too. And to be fair, I'm a person who's always wanted to make the most of life and, been quite vibrant and, let's make the best of it and see the positive in things and live anyway. But those extra reminders, I'll never forget. My friend's husband said after she died, they'd saved all this money and we're working really hard to save, and it just went towards her funeral and her casket. And that really stuck with me, that whole striking the balance between saving and making money and living life and that eternal, So that happened early on in life at that point, I guess. And this time around with Dad just sort of solidified, I think it gave me strength more than anything, that experience of losing him. It was a stronger, more grounded, this is your time to do something different. You can hear it. It's calling you. Just go and do it, stop mucking around kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about what you founded. Did you found the school with your dad, or what was the relationship and partnership in that respect?
Sure. So he was actually helping on the school board. He's an accountant and an artist. He's an amazing man. So he was helped to sit on the board early on. He'd helped to create the initial budget spreadsheets and all those kinds of things.
Yep.
He had a really great mantra, which was keep it simple, stupid. He loved that one. He didn't like all the fancy stuff. So his experience and expertise was just so valuable in those early days. And then he was on the actual school board in that advisory kind of role for a number of years until he became ill. And it was through a really challenging time through managing the COVID mandates, and we had a legal battle because we were protecting our staff. Like, we all went through some pretty big stuff together. So, but as far as the founding of the school, no, that happened with a group of passionate parents who I'd connected with through a playgroup, really, when my children were young. And one of them, the two of us went down to Sydney to study Steiner education so that we could teach our own children.
Let's hit pause there for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to provide further context for
Sure.
those listening. And we sort of joked about it off camera before. And I just said, through my research with you and what you've been up to, I just said, so what? One day you just said you wanted to start a school, which is what you did. You founded a Steiner school. So tell me, did you one day just go, we need to start a school here in Agnes Waters? How did that come about?
First, it's Agnes Water.
Sorry to the population of Agnes
they get
Water.
very offended if you say Waters.
Agnes Water. We'll cut that in the edit. Agnes Water.
No, so I'd moved there, and when my son was about only 10 months old, he's a baby, my first child, and started going to a playgroup. And did really well at school. I remember having a moment of thinking when I was about in year 10 or 11, this feels like a waste of time. We're not really learning anything about relationships, finances, real life skills. And I remember feeling that at the time, that it was not relevant. But I still did well and applied myself. And anyway, I suppose that lived in me. And then when I had my own child, when they're little, you start to think about those kinds of things. And I just knew that I didn't want mainstream schooling for my kids. There wasn't really anything more to it than that. I just wanted a different way. And then when I came to the Steiner-inspired playgroup that had been running in the town for possibly at least around 10 years, there's a really passionate group of parents who were running this group with a Steiner teacher involved. And they'd wanted to get a school up and going, and there was community interest, but the town was tiny. It was a population of less than 2,000 people at that point, and just not the impetus and kind of the action taker, I guess. So it was feeling that resonance. A couple of years passed, decided to homeschool my own children, wanted to follow a Steiner curriculum, and there was a beautiful mum of 5 children in town who was homeschooling her 5 children following a Steiner curriculum. And I just loved the simplicity and, the time in nature and the stories and the richness of the arts, and such a value placed on music and art and nature and humanity, human connection. And so it's an education for social renewal. So it's completely human-centered and so much about inspiring creativity and the imagination. And that just, when you get that resonance and you can just feel it in your body, there's no other way to describe it. It was just this is the right way. So I attended a course to the Steiner primary teacher education in Sydney, and I was down for an intensive one day with another of the mums who were homeschooling our children together, and we attended this together and met a lady there who'd actually reinstated a school that had fallen down, and she got the accreditation back up and running. And I think there was just that switch of knowing someone, an average person, she's a teacher, but she's otherwise a normal person, can start a school.
Yeah.
A little light went off, and And then it was just the resonance and the we can do this. So, and at my the founding years celebration, they ran for me, because it had been 10 years when I left just earlier this year. One of the founding members had the original message thread on her phone of what I'd said to gather the people together to have a meeting. And
what did you say?
it was something about, that we can do this. We really can. I believe we can. And I'm here. I'll be committed. I'll, drive it. But I need at least this many people to help. And was just getting those kind of practical steps in place whilst on the train home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And was it you getting your dad in board or was your dad sort of pushing
Dad was
you?
just, no. Sorry. In that way, it was really the parents then. He was, as well as another friend's husband and her father, who were also really astute businessmen and accountants or financial really advisors as well. So they were there for more just support early on. This was the parents really driving it, and then we just gathered resources and people to us. So everybody, we had to fulfill these different roles so we even get the accreditation, get the right curriculum, documents, get teachers to help flesh that out. I mean, there's a Steiner curriculum. We're lucky that's recognised through ACARA, so we could use that, but we still had to make it relevant for our context. We had to find a site. So many school startups try and happen and they don't get off the ground because it's so hard to find a site.
Right.
So we were just, it was hard work, but we were really blessed. We got to use the town community hall, packed up the classroom at the end of every day, set it up at the beginning of each day for 2 years in one term.
Wow.
I mean, they're things that you'd never do it if you knew what was going to be ahead of you.
Yeah. But
ignorance is bliss. And when that fire is there and that passion for our kids and our community, it was just something that, we kind of, it had its own momentum. Yeah. And my dad specifically came onto the board in a formal capacity a couple of years into it, and then was one of the solid kind of members.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think he would be thinking, 10 years on?
He was telling me, come on, Liz, it's time to go now. Like, you've done he saw there was a time of burnout through the COVID mandates. I mean, that was really challenging.
What do you mean by that? They said shut down the school during that time in COVID? Or?
No, when they were mandating that the staff have
have to get vaccinated.
Have to get the jabs, and we did not.
Okay.
We're not up for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that came with its own challenges.
Right. But the school is still going today.
Yeah.
Going strong.
Yeah.
And how's the community spirit behind that school?
Amazing. So we started with 8 children and 1.6 staff, and I was in volunteer admin. I mean, I helped set it up. There was no intention of leading it. That happened toward the end of the first year and needed to happen because of a few changes that came about, and a mentor who came and said, you really need to be holding this.
Yeah.
And so began the journey of leadership in that way.
While we're on the school education subject, what is it about, I guess, the standard school system that you think might be broken or doesn't quite work?
I can only speak from I can speak from personal experience and then from the professional experience of witnessing teaching staff come across from mainstream schooling in, searching for something. And what I saw was, really experienced people in a couple of instances who were wonderful at their job, so dedicated, so passionate, completely burnt out, multiple times, feeling so much pressure for the compliance, for the content. And I mean, you hear it everywhere now, just in day-to-day conversations with educators. And that so many of them have lost their passion for being relational with the kids, or there's no room for creativity. Music and arts have been scrapped in a lot of the curriculum. And not really much movement, or there's a lot of desk time and a lot of just content filling. Children are seen as, I guess, sort of a vessel to pour content into. Yeah, and
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't mean to. I'm not. I don't want to generalize that. There's obviously educators who are so passionate, they're doing an amazing job, and it depends on the individual. But the system. My understanding is there's just so much money being poured into all of these new programs every year, but the stats are showing that our literacy and numeracy results are worse than ever. So something's not adding up. They're not getting, the time for movement and nature and just that sense of connection to each other.
And you're right, you do hear, I mean, my wife's a primary school teacher and and a lot of friends are, and you do hear that common, burnout. There's a lot of work. The curriculum's jam-packed. And, they are passionate teachers. They're there for a reason because they love doing it, but it's hard to do it when the system is arranged that way. What's it going to take, do you think, for that to ever change?
I really don't know. The pressure needs to come off, and the focus on so much content needs to come off, and creativity and opportunity for spaciousness needs to be made in the curriculum, because you know yourself as an adult, when you're so overrun with work or jobs and responsibilities, there's no room for creativity. Likewise, if there's no joy, when you're feeling burnt out and stressed, or struggling with something, if there's no sense of joy or lightness or spaciousness, there's no opportunity for inspiration to come through. I don't know if you experience that. Maybe that's my experience. And watching children be stressed and struggling and, overloaded. Our world is changing so rapidly. There are jobs now that we could never have even imagined when we were at school. And that needs imagination. You need to be able to be creative and to see what needs to change, and then to feel and experience a vision for how that could look instead, and then to be able to take the action for it. If there's no room for that and you're just doing the do and getting through the day.
Oh, for sure. Overwhelm is not a nice place to be in
No.
business or creativity or wherever you might be.
Or school for kids.
Yeah. Yeah. You're now a heart-led leader, leadership coach. What? First off, let's define what do you mean by heart-led leadership? What does that term mean?
So to me, it means coming from a place, it's getting out of the head and really embodying and valuing the wisdom of our soul, of our heart, of, our mind is this incredible tool to create the world around us that we feel called to create. And, you get that sense of alignment, when you're on track, when life feels good and you're doing what you're kind of meant to be doing, even if it's hard. That way, even when you have challenges and roadblocks, if you know that you're aligned and on track and sort of doing your purpose, whatever that looks like right now, because it changes through the seasons, then those challenges you can overcome. Like the school, for example, I knew we had to get through. We had some massive roadblocks the whole way along. But I knew that it was right and it was my role for right now, so I kept on going. So it's being able to tap into aligning the wisdom, your brain, your creativity with your heart, that sense of compassion, that sense of what is my purpose right now, and with your intuition. So you're coming into alignment, you're being relational, and then you're courageously expressing yourself, and you're expressing the most authentic version of you. When you're able to do that, I believe, and I've experienced, that inner work and coming from that place, you can have the greatest impact on teams around you, on your family, leadership from a centered place and a connected place, and wanting to connect to the hearts of others, to see their gifts, to see them fulfilled in their work and enjoying their days, not just ticking boxes and doing their job. You get to witness and people blooming and growing and strengthening. And then the ripple out in my case was, well, then the kids were even, better looked after and having more fun, and learning was joyful, and they were then happy to serve their community and create these beautiful events for the parents and the wider community. Like it's the ripple out. So for me, heart-led leadership is really embodying that sense of self-leadership through connection, alignment, and then that courageous expression.
All right, a quick word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll get right back to the show. Today's sponsor is, it's me, Tom from Raw Lens. At Raw Lens, we create impactful video and stills content that captivates your community. If you're a business, organization, or individual with a message to share, then let's chat. Book your free Creative Spark session today at rawlensmedia.com. Let's bring your vision to life. Okay, back to me in the show. You seem to naturally dive into that space of believing alignment. Yes, this is for me. This is my purpose. I'm going for it. Was there ever a time when you didn't feel that way, or you feel self-doubt or felt lost?
Oh, yeah. I still feel self-doubt, and, I'm a human being. A few weeks ago? No.
How do you deal with it?
No.
How do you deal with it when that comes up, when that self-doubt rises up?
For me, that's where the wellbeing practices of meditation and yoga, and honestly, just time in nature, even just making that time to go and walk the dogs, be at the beach, switch off the phone, no noise, no listening to podcasts, audiobooks, nothing, just the space to connect.
Keep listening now. If you
Yeah. That's really powerful, because when we're connected in nature, and I think that's part of what's lacking in our society now too, everybody's busy and there's shoes on every day, and we're in build, we're spending less and less time actually connecting to the earth.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty powerful place to be in, to experience yourself and to hear the truth of your own soul speak, in my experience. So
I love that. I know, and I think you've just answered it there, but I know so many people who do get caught up in that day-to-day, or their job or whatever it might be, and they're not living their purpose, or they're not living, the best life that they could be, but it's too scary to do anything else. It's way too scary to quit the job and do something different, or the relationship, or whatever it might be. How do you get that? It just seems like such a big gap from there to there, of that self-doubt, or maybe maybe the self-doubt just sits under and they don't really want to address it, or even, get there. Those people just not ready. Like, how do people really get out of that stuckness, if that's a word?
Yeah. And I think the first step is realizing that they are, you've been able to articulate that there's that feeling underneath, that there's something different, but you just can't quite activate it. That's different to being completely oblivious to and disconnected. For me, that's like living life all up here in the head, and that real focus. And that's really hard, because the structure and the systems that we're in, everybody's impacted. Cost of living goes up, elections are on. We're part of this system, and it's just sort of this program of this, how we have to live and how it has to be. So it's really hard for some people to see that it can be different. And I'm no guru. I'm not saying, well, this is how it should be and could be. What I know from experience, though, is that I knew I didn't want that system for my kids and for our community. And I believed, and I could then see that we needed something different. And when you allow, I think the power of mindfulness practice and having those daily rituals of making time to be with yourself and allowing that wisdom to drop in, you then get to see visions and inspiration that come in, and they're only for you. Not everyone will have those visions, and it's understanding, like, whatever you can see and visualize, that's for you. That's your possibility of your soul expression. And if you feel the calling for that, then it's just a matter of course it feels scary. It felt scary and ridiculous to think about starting a school. It felt scary to leave a cushy, a stable income and launch into this new space. But I had to be brave and courageous in doing it, because I know in my heart I'm done there and my work needs to be somewhere else. So it's cultivating, that's where I say it's cultivating courage, it's cultivating trust in when you truly are in alignment with your heart and what it's saying, and not just the thoughts of doubt in your mind. You get to control, learn how to detach from those. That's the power of mindfulness and meditation, become the observer, realize that's not me. There's some thoughts happening. I can observe them. I'm not going to become that. What's happening in here? What does this say? And what does my intuition say? And then it's the courage to move forward in that. And for some people that can mean massive changes. Yeah, relocating, leaving relationships, leaving a workplace. But we can't ever really get it wrong. And the power of alignment is when you really are taking that time to be aligned to yourself and connected in to yourself. You won't get it wrong. You can take a step and you'll very quickly be shown if that's the right way or not. But if your heart still feels called to do it, even if you're scared, but you still feel called, that's when you know you're on track. if you feel scared and also you're not really passionate about it, that's probably not your path. It's got to be the passion and the excitement. It's like how I know that it's on track is that my heart gets this sort of expansion or sense of uplift when you start to tune in and feel and sense your body. It's not a silly, like if, butterflies, that kind of butterfly excitement. It's not like that. It's just a lightness and an expanding and a yes. Feels like a yes.
And so, sorry, when did you leave the school? How far into this new expansion are you?
2.5 months, 3 months.
2.5. So that's pretty fresh.
Yeah, it is fresh.
And so how is that trust sitting with you now? How
Great.
Have you got full trust? And
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know what I love this subject because I quit my job once upon a time, a cushy job at Channel 7 to just go out and try and start a video production business. And it's the scariest thing. I don't think I was 2-3 months in going, yep, got this. I was not like, there was a lot of sleepless nights there going, I'm not sure if I've got this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're there. You feel that trust. Obviously, you've done a lot of work on it, and you've explained some of those tactics and strategies you used. But yeah, you've got that trust that it's all going to be okay.
Yes, there's a deep knowing, and that's something I've had through life too. And there's been a few different instances where that's big things have happened and relationship breakdown, and I've been a financially independent solo mum for a lot of the time, building a business and managing that. So there's been a number of times where it's been scary, but I've known that it's right. So I think that deep knowing, when that always sits there, the mind can come in and have the doubts, and you might feel a bit of fear. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, that lucky I've got an amazing coach. And so that's the other thing. It's not just your own practices, but knowing when you need to call on someone to help. And I've had that benefit for over the last 11 years, which it's so helpful sometimes to just have someone to reflect and be that mirror, and to help draw out your own wisdom when the thoughts can overcome. So that's why I see the value in that at times when you're making these big jumps, or want that extra sort of person.
What's your advice to people out there who might be starting their own business or wanting to do their passion? Should they have a coach? Why should anyone have a coach?
I don't like shoulds. I think that's a swear word. But coaches, mentors can obviously be super helpful, especially if you find the right person and who's aligned with you. I'm sure there's plenty out there. It's like anything that you don't resonate with or that aren't really helpful for you. If you find the right person and they're really aligned with where you want to go and they've got the right experience, it's so valuable. It's especially, for me, not being partnered for a little while, it's that extra sounding board, and so I drew a lot of strength from that in times where I might otherwise feel alone. Yeah, because Dad was also that sounding board for a while too. So, they're super valuable for that, and just being able to point out and help you with your direction, really. But that was only a couple of weeks ago that I did have that. Not just doubt, it was more really clarifying and honing in on the focus area. And I guess my main advice or encouragement for people is when you feel that call, when you have the inspiration or those visions, or you just know you want something to be a different way, we have to actively, I believe, right now, the world's rapidly changing. Old systems are really outdated. There's things going on that are awful, and wherever you sit in any of the fields, if you don't like what you're seeing, you do have the power to change it. And that's what I want people to understand and really know and embody, rather than getting lost and thinking everything's out there and, they're sort of powerless in what's happening in life, and they're just sort of going along with the flow of this life that's been constructed for us. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like that. You can create what you want and what you feel called to do. And if it's aligned and you've got that real passion and you're courageous in it, you'll be supported. You'll have the people come to you who you need. I had no idea how to start a school, not a clue. You learn along the way. You then, you gather the people that you need to fulfill the roles that are required. So everything's still compliant. We were still playing in a system. But we chose to do that because to do it completely independently would be, I'm up for making the impossible possible, but it was pretty hard to gather amazing teachers and pay them what they needed to be paid with just parent fees. So regardless, my point is you can bring people to you and the resources to you and make things happen. That school started with us loaning or getting grants from Bendigo Bank to pay for our crayons for the first 8 students, and it's now 70 kids and 11 staff and a waiting list and $1.6 million balance sheet from nothing. And for a little school who charged the lowest fees in Australia, for our community, that's something that was created out of love and passion and the alignment of all the souls who helped.
How do you inspire people to get together like that? How do you give them that trust and belief and tell them to come with me, come on board, I've got this? Do you have any strategies or ways you can do that?
For me, it's the more grounded it is in yourself. Like it's that knowing. And that's where you need to cultivate those daily practices to get to know your body. How do you know that you know? How do you know what thoughts you're thinking? How do you know when doubt creeps in? How do you know when that's blocking you instead of something else? Like you get to know yourself, and when you can be so grounded in that knowing and sure, and then when there's that passion in the heart and the uplift and the yes, it's a yes. Like just do it. And the more you stand in that belief and certainty and also honesty, I'm up for it. I'll do whatever it takes. I need you guys to join me. I can't do it alone. And we can give this a red hot go. There's no guarantees, but if you're up for it, let's give it a go. And if it works, wow, how amazing. So humility's got to be there too.
Are there leaders that you look to and are inspired by? Are there people who have got the model right? Donald Trump, is he your inspiration?
No.
No, but I mean, people.
I won't say anything about him. But,
we won't get political, but you see leaders, in the media, social media, who might have that confidence but don't have the honesty. Are there leaders who do have the right balance out there, or not really?
It's an interesting space. I wouldn't know, and I've had different people that I've looked to at different seasons of life. So, but I don't know anyone that's inspiring me in the way that I'm speaking about right now. I'm just thinking about this as you're speaking. There's leaders who inspire me, who I love to see speaking and helping other people, but to be transforming and building communities, I'm not looking to anyone just yet. And I'm really big on just be your own guru. So it's nice to be inspired by people. I guess I was inspired by one of the directors in Steiner Education Australia. She's just an amazing woman, beautiful balance of strength and softness. So in that field, was privileged to have some amazing mentors through my time there. But to actively be doing this and consciously building new business and new systems and new structures and kind of, I think there's 2 things that need to happen, or that I see where my work is, going into the current systems and structures like I did yesterday in Brisbane and trying to help these high-level executives in different industries come into their hearts and out of their head and relate to people, and make it such a priority to have a look at the culture of a workplace. If you've got to be in a system and in a workplace, I'm not saying everyone needs to leave their job and go and create something new. That's probably not possible, and it's not the path for many people. But for those that this does speak to and it is their path, it's just about gathering that courage to really express that, because it's something in you that wants to be expressed, and then it will benefit others. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer to.
No. Well, what's the goal for Melissa Thomson now that, you've created an amazing community in Agnes Water?
Good job.
Cool. And now you're embarking on your own journey of being an entrepreneur, I guess, again, in a way. Is it to build a community again, or is it just to find the people who are ready to join you,
Yeah, I want to find people who are ready, who I can help, not even to join me, but I want to, if there are people who feel this call and they just can't quite figure out how to do it or have the courage or confidence to do it, that's who I want to help. Or the leaders in organisations where it's a bit dry, a bit, compliance KPI focused, and they've lost that human connection. But they're open to transforming workplace culture, education. They're the people that I want to help, where change can really be made, particularly for people influencing. Yeah, I think leaders are important to work with, because we're all leaders. We all have that sense of self-leadership that I believe we need to develop and cultivate, because when we can lead in our own lives, whether that's in our own family or our community, or just with our partners or our children, it's so powerful to have that real sense of self-leadership. And I forgot my train of thought, but I want to work with those people who are when you're in a position of leadership, you are able to influence other people, especially like educators influencing children. So much of our trauma can come from school, and that one thing that teacher said one time, or if they've not been relational focused and they have just been there for the holidays or the behavior, whatever it might be, the ones who are a bit disconnected from the kids, which there are plenty. They're in a position of power to influence these kids, to teach them about relationships as well as their families from the outset, to give them opportunities to breathe and to experience that sense of well-being in the day as a part of a day and a way of being, rather than a subject they put on top of this heavy curriculum. Let's do 5 minutes of mindfulness. It's like, no. So I guess I'm saying people in a position of leadership in any way, whether they're an educator, a business owner, a leader in a big team, or a mum or a dad with their kids. Yeah, when they can come again to their own alignment and be really living from their own heart, they're more joyful, they're more passionate, and they're able to then let that ripple out and influence those around them.
Yeah. It's so clear that, the humanness and the heart-led leadership is your focus. Does the world of AI and going in that direction scare you? Are you hopeful? Are you pessimistic? How do you sit with that? You're pushing the human side, and there's a force of AI coming at us in all directions.
Yeah, totally. I think I've had to come to acceptance with that, and then find ways to use it. It's a tool. For me, it's a tool. AI will never take over the human. You can't have a frequency. You can't feel AI's heart field. It doesn't have one. We have this incredible heart field and frequency that there's science behind. It's not woo-woo. We're impacting each other's energy field right now by the way we're breathing and talking and the things we're talking about. And there's this phenomenology between us of this moment, and that would be different if we met tomorrow or in 2 hours' time. And AI will never have that. And so whilst, yes, I feel it's just going to be forcing even more creativity, because if it's going to force people out of jobs, then we've got to be even more creative in ways that we are going to be and exist in the world. And it's almost like just this opposing force. The more disconnected we might be able to get, well, the more connected we have to strive to become. And that's why there's got to be this intentional turning to and focus whenever we can on connection, and it starts with self. You can't connect authentically with others if you're not connecting into yourself first and to the earth.
I love that. I hope not, because I enjoy doing this podcast and I don't want to be replaced anytime soon.
Yes, same.
Thanks so much. It's been awesome, and you're a force. I can see the drive within you, and you're passionate and inspiring people to do what they love, and I think that's a great thing. And to get out of your head and get out of the KPIs and the numbers and all those things that even I can get lost in business. And creating this podcast, to be honest, was a big part of bringing me back to just the best part about my job, and that is meeting people and being able to have a conversation. So thank you so much for spending the time to do that with me.
Thanks for listening to the call.
Yeah, no worries. I finished on this question for everyone, and it's one of my favorites, and I hope it will resonate with you. But where do you find yourself at most peace?
If I could put it all together, it'd be at the beach with my kids and my horse and my dogs, in nature with the kids.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice combination.
Oh, yeah. And we're blessed to live right by the beach. So, yeah, that's a pretty regular place of peace. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I have to get up there to Agnes Water. I still haven't visited, so it's on my list. It looks like paradise and sounds like
Beautiful.
paradise. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me, Melissa.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the show. This podcast is truly a passion project for me and the small but awesome team behind the scenes. We pour our hearts into bringing you these honest and insightful conversations, but I can't tell you how much it helps when you hit that follow or subscribe button. The show gets bigger, which means we can expand the production and we can continue to bring in amazing guests from all walks of life. Please help us to do this thing that we love and hit that follow or subscribe button. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.